Hello, everybody. Very nice to see you. Let's start with some meditation. Just settling in. Really, what it means is letting go. Checking in with the body. Getting the body comfortable. Relaxing. When we start meditating, we're usually taught how to use a meditation object. The idea being to have a way to occupy the mind, focus the mind. Because, of course, what we're used to is the mind just thinking about all kinds of things. And that's how it's conditioned. It's required to do that, to deal with human life. So when we want to meditate, we want to become more quiet, with the mind focusing, but also relaxing and letting go. And people have different reasons for meditating. Some people really pick up meditation so that they can calm the mind and be able to focus more, train the mind. But if we stick with it, eventually we start to understand that meditation is for much more than that, right? We could say the bhavana development, mental development, is for something much deeper than just becoming still. That we start to investigate, start to develop a sensitivity for seeing the difference between the things that change and what does not change. And generally, the way to begin that exploration is to really see the changing phenomena around us all the time. We can easily witness how the body changes. From one day to the next, one moment to the next, it might have aches and pains or tightness or heaviness or lightness or energy, or feel really good or not so good, even moment to moment. Even when we try to sit in one place for any length of time, then the body starts to ache or feel restless. it's really easy to see how the body changes. And when we're investigating the body, then we also look at the long view, how it was when our first memories of our body, when we were small, how it grew, how it's been changing as it ages. And depending upon where we are in that cycle, when we get to old age, we can really see the difference, see the changes in the body. And of course, we can also easily witness the changes in our feelings, our emotions change so easily, so readily, depending upon what we hear, see, taste, touch, smell, think. We can think about something and completely change our emotional state. Mention one person or one event, and suddenly our emotional state is different. So we can see how changeable that is. Our likes and dislikes change. Even our habits change. Our environment changes, the weather changes, the climate changes. And when we investigate, we can see that everything in this world changes. It's not steady. It's not complete. It's not reliable. And there's no problem with that unless we cling to things and want them to stay the same. Or we want them to change in ways that they don't change. So we can witness this. We don't need to study Buddhism for decades or anything like that. We can witness this here and now, anytime. And of course, all these changing phenomena are what the Buddha called sankhara. Sankharas are things that are created or developed or made through or come into existence through conditions, the right conditions being in place. And when the conditions change that support a specific sankhara or phenomenon, then that phenomenon ends. It deteriorates, fades, or just completely falls away, ceases. So with our emotions, we can be happy, and something happens that we don't want, and then we can be sad right away. The happiness is gone, and the sadness arises, or the other way around. And the reason, the purpose for understanding this, for seeing it, is to let go, to realize that any clinging, any sense of ownership or control over things that you can't control brings suffering, makes us feel miserable. So if we want to be happy, and we all do want to be happy, then we want to find what doesn't change. We want to experience that, know it, and be able to rely upon it. And we're told that there is such a thing. There is the unconditioned, unborn, uncreated. And it is the escape from the born, the formed, the created. But we still wonder how to experience that. How do we rest in that? How do we recognize that? Because the changing phenomena of the world are so compelling, so consuming, so attractive, or even when they're repulsive, there's a kind of clinging to the desire for them to be gone. We're very engaged in the world. So the question is, can we observe, experience in the present moment, and have a clear sense of what that witnessing is? And when we're witnessing our feelings, our body, our mental states, the objects in our world, experiences, what can we notice about that which observes? So one quality about it is silence, peacefulness. And you might even feel something in your body, like in your chest area, maybe, or wherever. And this witnessing position, this what is there to witness, the knowing, the knower, It's not personal. It's not self. Whenever we try to possess it, we just can't do it. And we try to take many things. The ego tries to appropriate many things to be part of itself. It wants to control. Wants to own and control things. But with this wisdom, this knowing, this observer, this is something we can't control. We can't appropriate it. When you get a sense of what that is, you know that whenever you pay attention to it, it's there. And you can feel it. It provides the ability to be present with whatever we're experiencing without being caught up in that. And we can know our emotions, we can know the body, and not own it, not become it, not perceive ourselves as that. So we can practice. What's the practice? It's to let go and reside in that witnessing. And the very most interesting, you might say magical part of it is that wisdom comes through this witness position, this consciousness. Like if you've had insight arise, then you know it's not coming from your thinking mind. It doesn't come from something we can figure out or create. It's not sankhara. The source or the origin. And we know it through that yoniso manasikara, that wise attention, that origin. Yoniso has that, both those properties of wisdom and origin, like the basis. You can call it Dhamma, whatever word we use. That's where the real understanding comes from, the direct knowing. Dhamma, Nibbana, consciousness, mindfulness, can use these words to all point to the same thing. And it's here and now. It's timeless because it's outside of time. It doesn't age, it doesn't die. It was never born, not created. It's not separate. It's not a self. It's not an ego. So much of the time, our ego tries to get something from the practice. We're told that we need to concentrate the mind, we need to put in a lot of effort. We need to get stream entry or hear the sound of silence, get jhana. The trouble with all that is whenever we try to get anything, it's the sense of self that's really trying to get it. And that stops us. It keeps us from experiencing directly that unborn, unconditioned, uncreated, unformed, boundless, radiant consciousness without feature. And just notice what you observe, what you're experiencing. If it's sleepiness, notice that. And if it's restlessness, notice that. And if it's stillness, notice that. Just being present with whatever there is. And if the thinking mind starts to add something on top of it, then notice that. And the practice is really maintaining that quality of attention in a relaxed, open, non-judgmental way. A willingness to be present with whatever arises without fear. If fear arises, we're still present with fear. And nothing gets left out, nothing is rejected, but it's known and understood for what it is. And don't make anything more of it. You don't grasp it. But we do investigate, understand, understand suffering, understand clinging. And if we want to grasp onto something and hold it, we know that. And if we want to get rid of something, then we know that. If we want a kind of sensual experience, we know that. If we want to become something, accomplish something, we know that. We must observe it. All these things that change, they come from some causes and conditions. Our insight into what doesn't change also comes from causes and conditions. It's not that the unconditioned changes, that's not possible. But our understanding of it develops. That is the bhavana, that is the development of the mind. It's like being shown reality. And we'll draw the meditation to a close. mean, you can still continue meditating, just allowing the words that I'm saying to come into that witnessing. It feels like a lot has been happening since we got together at this time before, since the last time. We had our taught the retreat up at Cloud Mountain. We were for the last couple of weeks. And hello, Philip, welcome. I guess before that we had a meeting between Spirit Rock and, I don't know, anyway, teaching at Spirit Rock about the sound of silence, or actually the teaching was about the silence behind the noise. And the distinction there is important, because when you think about silence as a sound or as something to experience, then it brings up that desire to get that, to hear it, or something like that. And if we recognize that silence is experienced, sometimes there's a kind of hum that we notice, but it doesn't have to be. And I think we just get into trouble when we try to get something out of meditation, when we try to get something out of the practice. It's a way of wanting to become something. And that really stops the progress. So we try to, help people recognize when that's happening and how to let that go. And it's understandable, because this is how we've been conditioned. We come into this life, and obviously there are a lot of things that we need to learn, and we are taught to take initiative and take care of things and develop and our skills, and all of that is valuable as a being in the world. We have to. And then when we come to meditation practice, or we come to the Dhamma, and we start to use our same skills and habits to develop that. And then sometimes people get very discouraged because they use this, approach to developing the mind, and it doesn't work. Can feel stuck, or feel like we desperately want to see some progress, and then people often, want to kind of look at the characteristics of a stream enterer and see if they check the boxes, see if they are that, and that's coming from the sense of self. So it's the wrong perspective. It's the wrong. It's a counterproductive approach. I remember when I was young, in college maybe, and I saw this sign, this poster that you've probably seen too. Some people make things happen. Some people watch what's happening, and some people wonder what happened. And, I saw that, and I'm like, I want to be a person who makes things happen, That was the idea, that's the best. But now, I think watching what happens is really the key. Really being able to allow ourselves to experience whatever is arising in us, and really be able to be present with it. Letting go of the sense of self. I think that's the key, to really be able to experience, just be sensitive to when is it the self that's trying to get something, and when are we free of that? And the freedom from it really allows us to be at peace. And it creates an opening for wisdom to arise, for insight to come. It takes some courage and honesty. I don't know, maybe courage isn't the right thing, but certainly have to be honest with ourselves. The beautiful thing about it is that it really applies to everything, no matter what's happening. And that the peacefulness, the stability is always there when we open up to it, pay attention to it. So the retreat for me, the retreat at Cloud Mountain this time was really interesting. The practitioners were very deep. People got very settled very quickly, and it was a really time of a lot of insight arising for people, and an opportunity to really see the Dhamma. I talked about something that happened from my own meditation, my experience one night, actually in the very wee hours of the morning, a couple of days into the retreat. I was awake early and listening to a talk by Ajahn Sumedho. I really recommend it. It's called In This Life. If you haven't heard that one, or even if you have, you might want to listen again. I feel like he really covers in there all of the aspects of the way our conditioning as human beings forms us to try to be the ones who make things happen. He doesn't use that particular language, and then how we can see the true nature of reality, and what happens as we realize the Dhamma. So after I listened to the talk, I lay down to go back to sleep, see if I could go back to sleep. And what happened was I was in this room, and a large space with a lot of light coming in, and empty space. And there was this force that hit me from behind in the middle of my back, and it cracked open the entire body and mind, the whole Namarupa, not just the physical body, but the mental also, and the heart, and that there was nothing inside. It was a very electric moment. There was lightning and thunder and quaking, and it was really like intense, very intense energy. But the body and mind that is the Namarupa was just an empty shell, like an eggshell cracked open. And then I saw other human beings just like bubble wrap, like there's nothing inside, it's just the bubble wrap. And it's kind of just like, yeah, this is what the body and the ego or the sense of self really are. There's nothing there. And all conditioned phenomena were like this image of paper cut like clouds pasted on a roll of white paper that moves like these paper clouds on this paper moving across the sky. That the conditioned phenomena are just paper. And this image, so when this image, like whenever this kind of thing happens, it's like notice not just the image, but the message. What's the message? It's the insubstantiality, the constant changing of all phenomena. It's the hollowness and the lack of substance to the sense of self. But it's also the depth of the silence and the energy that was present, just so rich, so deep, so completely filling. That is that residing unconditioned presence. And so among the messages is that we don't have to be afraid of anything. There's nothing to fear. I mean, I had an insight a long time ago that was that there's nothing to fear except wrongdoing, which is true relative to us as we operate in the world. Because that's going to create the karma that holds us back. But to whenever insight arises in your practice, notice what the wisdom is that's being imparted to you, that you're being shown, and then whatever the feeling is that you're experiencing, if there's imagery with it or not, if there is, whatever that imagery is, so you can keep coming back to it and develop upon it, and that sometimes people, something happens and then the ego tries to appropriate it, and I think this partly is motivated by this way of approaching practice that comes from the I want to get something out of it. As if that's our inclination, then I think when something happens, then it's, oh, this is what I got out of it. But that stops our growth and development. It's wrong view. It's wrong understanding. because this wisdom that comes, it's like insight comes from that unconditioned consciousness. It's not something you can have. It's not something we accomplish. It's, I wouldn't, it's like, don't think about the things that we come to know as attainment, because again, then it's on the wrong track. I think in this talk that I mentioned, Ajahn Sumedho, I think it's in this one, he says something like, he doesn't even, have ownership of the insights that have come over the years, because it can't be rightfully appropriated as self. So those are some things to watch out for, I think, as we develop in the practice. Just noticing when there's a mindset of wanting to get something. And it's not like we blame ourselves, because then we just add another layer of self on top of it. But just be with it, be present with it. And another thing that happens often, even someone might be in a monastic life for many years and they feeling nothing's happening. Nothing arises, nothing comes. But then to be with that feeling of, like, oh, this is the way the mind is feeling. This is what's happening. The key is that being present with, when we really are committed to being present and aware of whatever is happening, this opens the heart. This opens us to being willing to know whatever is arising. This is the first noble truth, being aware, present with dukkha, really coming to understand it. And I think about the things that open the heart, like sometimes making an offering to a teacher, something like that can really open the heart. Just bowing opens the heart, that humility that comes with it. Just listening attentively, really wanting to understand, opens the heart. And it's funny because it's like when I say that wanting, it starts to give that idea again of like, I'm going to do something, I'm going to get something, I'm going to watch out for that. Instead, can it be just an openness, a humility, a stepping back and observing? And it's so valuable when you start to really feel that energy of the Dhamma, or the energy of that unconditioned in your system, in your body. And then wherever you go, whatever you're doing, if you come back to that, whatever's happening, it's okay. And nobody, like when we're in, we have a human body, and there's going to be times when, and we have a personality, and there are times when that's what's in operation because we interface in the world. But we can also have that sense of that spiritual awareness. That awareness is there. And when that happens, it's like no matter where you are, you have a different perspective on what's happening, on what's around you. When we were coming back from the retreat, we had right as soon as we got back, I had to go to Costco for something. Not for it was some part of work doing something with the KBV Costco account, and just what it's so amazing here in Sunnyvale. The Costco is like it's so busy. It's like, you come up to the door and there are so many carts and people with all kinds of stuff streaming out. You can hardly get in, and it's just like this. If you walk through the aisles, it's just this mass crowd. I feel like I'm walking around New York City, and and usually, there's a feeling of maybe some chaos, some hurry, something. And that day, what I really felt was the faith people have. So many people have faith, and the way that shows up, I feel, is there's a kindness and a respect for the Dhamma that I could just sense in the air. And I can see it. There are a lot of people who are probably ethnically, can you say they're ethnically Buddhist? Maybe. And I don't know, it doesn't require Buddhism, but it's just like we can view the world not like it has rose-colored glasses, but we might see the unseen goodness more prominently when we are open and really resting in awareness. And to really start to trust that is accessible. It's immediate, here and now. So I think I'll stop talking, and I'd like to hear any comments or questions, experiences. Yeah, no.
What came up for me right away was the idea of striving. Where aren't we supposed to strive on? So how do we strive on without the self? It's tricky, isn't it?
It's tricky, and it's so much more. I don't know, the way I see it. It's because striving, especially given my cultural conditioning, has so much like personal drive behind it. Like this is what you're saying, and to recognize that the striving really is about the sort of commitment or this intention to be willing to meet everything that comes, be willing to meet our, as Grace was saying when we were on the retreat, our deepest fears, shames, and insecurities, being willing to be present with whatever arises in the mind and the heart in our experience. And that fortitude, that inner determination, I think really is the striving. I mean, when, I've probably told, I know I've told the story, I don't know if everyone here has heard it, but when a long time ago, 23 or 4 years ago, maybe, this dream where Ajahn Mahabua was telling me, you can do it, you can do it. You have to relentlessly practice, just relentlessly. It has so much of that striving energy. And over the years, I wonder, am I doing that? Am I relentless enough? It's like kind of like that question. And now it's like I recognize that that relentless striving really is that ongoing investigation that can be gentle, but it has that kind of backbone of steel to it, that you're just going to be willing to face anything that comes and be present with it and see its nature and see our own clinging and craving. And it's through seeing it and being present with it that we let it go. It's not like through the power of our will, which is, that's what's so ironic about it, or yeah, it's interesting. Thank you. James?
So, when this first came up, when you were talking and discussing the issues of trying to get something, I thought of my own practice, and I feel like what I do is like I have a determination to continually be setting the right conditions, and um, and I don't really. I mean, clearly I have in mind, some kind of goal, but really when I focus on it, what I get daily, you inspiration and upliftment from is, um, well, for one, doing my meditation in the morning and just focusing on, having an open heart and practicing precepts and everything that I know to not just set the conditions, but preempt the contrary conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't really understand what it means to be enlightened or be a stream inner, so it's silly to try and grasp at it.
Yeah.
Because inevitably I'm going to be trying to get the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's what I have to say.
Yeah, thank you. I think it is true. We want to be sensitive to the conditions we put in, because yeah, it's so easy to be overwhelmed or strongly influenced by what the conditions of the world we live in. And we really can reduce a lot of that. We don't have to be up on the news all the time, or, we can really pay attention to what it is that stirs up the mind and what it is that helps the mind be calm and clear. I had a little bit of trouble understanding. I couldn't hear so super well, so I hope I got most of it. James, thank you. Yeah, Cindy? I can't hear you. I do.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Somehow I muted myself. All right. I was very fortunate to be on the retreat with you all, and very grateful for that experience. And one of the things that occurred to me afterwards is with working with awareness. For example, you did a beautiful guided meditation of imagining oil, hot oil, doing the body massage and body massage, body sweeping or body meditation. And I very much enjoy that practice, but I find myself constantly like using my eyes to do that work. And so I've been exploring different ways of working. Like when you mentioned something about when it's something I kind of want to stop that because it feels to me very habitual and not useful.
Mhm.
So then I'm trying to practice just kind of being with it in a way to kind of increase the awareness of it and try to um, not be averse to it. So I don't know if you had any ideas for that because it kind of gives me a headache and a lot of pressure. And it's not what I want when I'm doing, meditation. And it's
Yeah.
almost like I think that that's where the awareness is and that I'm sort of directing it, doing too much. And so I want to try to let go of that habit.
Mm. Yes. So one thing you could try, so this is a technique, right? And all techniques have their limitations.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same talk, I think that I just recommended by Ajahn Sumedho, he mentions that eventually we have to let go of the techniques because they get in the way. And especially when you notice something like this, and it's very common, I think, when working with energy to want to use the eyes to direct it or to as you said, we think that our awareness is here with the eyes and we're seeing and we're, like experiencing it move with moving our eyes. And yes, that can be stressful and cause headaches and all kinds of things, eye strain. And so noticing that that's happening and then really just putting it down and allowing the eyes to relax and rest. And if you still want to use the technique, you can use your hands to direct the oil coming down the body. And even though you're imagining it coming down the back, you can direct it coming down the back mentally by running your hands down. So it's a different way because the hands will also kind of help the energy move. But yeah, noticing anytime the eyes start to get tight, just notice and then let them relax and rest again. They're closed. There's no need for any vision to be happening. So you might use that as kind of a way to change that habit. But then also just see what kind of cues, what kind of conditions you want to bring into play to really allow you to rest in that awareness. It doesn't need to move or do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Cindy.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Philip?
So I was thinking about this as you were doing during the talk. I was thinking of the dynamic between needing to let go of wanting and not wanting. Mm-hmm. There's that, and just mutually observing versus the teaching that what I've heard is that it's easier to move in your practice if you're happy, right? Mm. Like I've seen the same thing where my meditation is better when I'm like generally happy. So I see that as it helps to have some level of conventional happiness for your practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so then like a lot of people who want to have that conventional happiness. So I see that as when you have it to some degree, like whatever that means, like your personal life or work life, whatever it may be, to have that basic kind of level of conventional happiness, then when you notice that there is attachment to something, or whenever you still act out of greed or aversion, then that's where the practice can go, right?
Exactly. Then you notice that grasping, that clinging, because that's going to be hurting. That's why suffering is the flag. Yeah.
I feel like it's easy when there's many ways people can go with this, but when we hear from the teaching that attachment is the main issue, or what we want to work on, but if you don't have that conventional happiness, it's like hard to focus on that, right? Like, or the practice may not be so effective for you if you don't have that sense of conventional happiness. But then when you do, then it's like grasping, and then you have to have that discernment of when is it that I don't have enough of that conventional happiness or base level of peace to for the practice to be effective. But then when I do have some degree of it, then I'm like grasping at it, or like,
yeah, that's a dynamic to really notice, because we can have this happiness without grasping it. And we can also make progress even though we're not happy. So the happy mind is easily concentrated, but it doesn't mean it's the only way to make progress. So it's like you can feel pretty miserable and then be present with that misery in a way that you feel the natural uplift and comfort of the unconditioned. And it's not a worldly happiness. So, having a kind of, good conditions is great. We have to use what we have, and you can make progress anyway.
So conventional happiness helps us concentrate. Okay. All right. I missed that part. But if you don't have concentration, so then there's like discernment of, well, I'm being present with whatever conditions I'm in, even though I can't concentrate. But it's hard to see how I have progress when I can't concentrate.
Well, we have to really understand what we mean by concentration too, because it's there's samadhi and then there's vipassana, and there's a level of samadhi even when the mind is calm enough to just be present with whatever dukkha we're experiencing. So it's like when Ajahn Ganha says the samadhi doesn't have to be that deep, I think it's because that with the samadhi there is this investigation, this openness of heart to be present with what's happening without the sense of self. So that the sense of self is really the fundamental stumbling block. It's that first fetter, and it's really like the sense of self wants to get in the mix all the time. And so when we can see, okay, is a sense of self here doing this thing, or is this just an opening of the heart to observe from this witnessing position, which is really Dhamma?
So it's concentration, not like you have jhana, but it's more like concentration of whatever it is, I bring my attention back to it.
Yes, that effort. Exactly. That's the effort. And it's not like, oh, my tension goes away and then I drag it back and I drag it back and I drag it back, because that also is just a technique, really. It's more like, I'm going to take an interest in this feeling I'm experiencing. I take an interest in this mental state I'm having. And take an interest in this way that the body feels. And this is 4 foundations of mindfulness. It's the 4 foundations of mindfulness, and you see the 4 noble truths right in it together. And it's like, yes, samadhi is part of it. But samadhi has many different sort of ways of appearing. And jhana, like Ajahn, from what I understand, Ajahn Mahabua and other Thai forest masters say, Well, if your inclination is to go into jhana, it's okay. But you don't have to like think, oh, I have to get jhana or I have to get a certain level of samadhi. Like when people are very focused on, is this access concentration or is this, it doesn't matter. We don't need the labels. As soon as we put labels on things, we put labels on, levels of awakening or whatever, then it's the ego again coming in to try to like, either you want to get it, or you think you've got it, and then it's not the real thing. Yeah, because the labels and even all of the teachings, they're all sankharas too, because it's words. So it's like to actually have that relentless interest and commitment to being present with what we experience, and knowing that a sankhara can't witness a sankhara. Sankhara is always changing. But what can witness it is the unconditioned, is the Dhamma. Yeah. Yes, Lynn.
Hi, Ayya. Thank you for the insights you shared. And I have a question of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
The more I hear you're talking about being present with what we are doing, the more I think of maybe I was not really aware of what I'm doing most of the time. For example, like when I'm in a job, sometimes I can see my day goes very fast because I was just focused on what I'm doing, either doing, tech part. And for example, when I am editing the video, I can just lost in there, but I'm very concentrated.
Yeah.
I wonder, or talking to somebody, and into a certain topic, I can totally being there. I wonder if that's really lost awareness because I was not aware how I was feeling when I was doing that task, but I was very concentrated.
Yes.
So my question is that lost awareness or that's...
I think your sense of being lost in it is good. It's like it's good to notice that, because I don't think that is really the kind of awareness that we're talking about. Like we can get lost in the movie, get lost in, and what we mean by that is you're so caught up in the thing that we're not coming from that position of witnessing it. We're coming from the position of just being embroiled in it. And to just, when the mindfulness kind of says, oh, I'm really caught up in this, or something kind of triggers oh, I'm really caught up in this. And then step back and observe it all. Just, okay, sure, we've got to do the task, and talk to this person, but we can be doing it from a place of observing it outside ourselves, not just the personality engaged or the thinking mind engaged in this activity.
I kind of wonder about, like, when you say lost in it, from what you're saying, I think it's like if you're like emotionally caught up in something and you're just like lost in it that way, it's different than like really being absorbed in a task, because you can do that with a lot of mindfulness and just really be like focused on the task. But it sounds like it's not the same.
I think the distinction is something we have to know for ourselves, whether we're, yes, we can be absorbed in the task with awareness of being absorbed in the task, or we can just be caught up in the task and not really aware from that perspective of what we're doing.
Yeah, that's actually, I just starting to realize this. Before I feel like, I'm very focused, I can do the work and efficient a lot. But now I realize I was not aware in a way, like, sometimes even I was walking and listening to something, I'm aware where I am. I can sometimes step back looking at myself. I'm walking on the street. I was still listening, almost like I'm watching myself at the back.
Right.
Then, okay, I feel I was sort of aware of what I'm doing. But doing the job, a lot of the time, now I reflected, I don't remember. I know I was very busy and finished the task, but I never realized I was watching myself. And then I feel like, I'm really wasting a lot of my time of life, being not aware of.
Yeah.
And then now your explanation a little bit confirm what my concern is. Then I was wondering, how can I practice this? Even doing a lot of tasks, still have that awareness. Like I just mentioned, doing the task, but still aware. I'm doing this task.
Yeah. This is the strengthening of our mindfulness. So strengthening our mindfulness will help us see, I'm caught up in this. I can step back and observe it. I can be present with this. What I've done sometimes in the past to train myself is to be aware of my breathing while I'm doing the task. If I'm aware of my breathing, then there's this calm, this attention, this presence, and I'm still able to, talk to someone or listen to them. And is a technique, though. Again, we'll let that go at some point, but the way to kind of see if we can continue to have the awareness that brings this peacefulness and calm as we're observing our activity and what we're engaged in.
Okay, I would like to try next week. That's going to be a bit challenging.
Yeah, and when you realize, I just did this for a half an hour or whatever amount of time, and I wasn't really present in that way, that's fine. It's good to catch it and then, just see. So when Ajahn Gana says, sati, samadhi, and panya all the time, it's like the wisdom is there, the mindfulness is there, and the calm, the samadhi, the collectedness of mind is there. And then it's what's so hard to identify is that it's coming from this witness position, this Dhamma position. Otherwise, the wisdom's not there. It's just the knowledge of how to do the task. But it's not the wisdom of, like, what are we really doing? Or that. For me, it's a feeling like, I can walk around Costco and just be seeing what's there. Or I can have this really rich feeling in my system. I can notice it. It's a different way of being present.
Thank you, Ayya.
Anne?
Thank you. This is very interesting. I have a question about that, but what I put my hand up for was a statement that I've lost track of now. And you were saying sankharas can't something with sankharas?
Oh yeah, Ajahn Sumedho said he would reflect on, can a sankhara observe or witness a sankhara?
Yes, but how, if we and if the answer is no, then seeing as most of us are living in a state of some kind of sankhara, however it's configured, then we're pretty useless. I mean, that's not quite the expression, but so
I think it's important to recognize that even though our thoughts are sankharas, our words are sankharas, because we're usually thinking in words, this awareness is not a sankhara. It's like recognizing that this awareness is always available. It's our attention that pulls away from it. We lose track of it, but we come back to it. And it's still there, the same. It's like the sound of silence or silence. You come back to it and it's there. And to start to get that sense of what that's like, and that's so accessible. It's just to be present.
It is so accessible when it's accessible, but it's easy to go offline. Could you say a word about difference between awareness and mindfulness?
I don't think there is a difference.
Okay, fine. That's what I was hoping.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, like to start to recognize that it's something we know directly for ourselves, and it has, it's peaceful. It's from the ground from which the wisdom arises, and it's there all the time. You start to recognize that, and it can be called Dhamma, consciousness, awareness, mindfulness, whatever we call it. The words are inadequate anyway, but start to get the sense of that, the experience of it.
Of a state, a state of mind. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Adrian has a comment in here.
Okay. It's similar to having the sampajanya in sati. Oh, is it similar to having the sampajanya in sati sampajanya? Yes. Yes. Clear comprehension or context of the focus. It's what is witnessing with Dhamma. So yes, when the suttas talk about sati sampajanya, yes, I would say it's the same thing. Yeah. It's really simple. It feels complicated because we have so much complication with all the sankharas that are formed to create what we think we are, and all of what's around us, and all of our interactions, and all of the knowledge that's available, and all that. But this is the ground of being. This is what we come from, the origin. And we know it ourselves, know it directly. Yeah. And really just, even if whatever I've said doesn't make sense, the accessibility is just making, being present. Just be present with what you're experiencing. Be present with it without grasping onto it. And that's all it is. Everything else unfolds out of that. Well, thank you, everyone.